In the midst of the whole quarantine thing, when it was a lot more serious anyway, I was really strapped for things to do to pass the time. Okay, well that's a lie because I didn't have anything to do in the first place, but the point I'm getting at is that this encouraged me to catch up on some old shows or watch new stuff. One of these shows, as random as it may sound, was the Garfield Show. Yes, I am being 100% serious whenever I say this. I remember seeing the show on TV every so often when I was younger, but other than that, my exposure to it was limited to random clips being posted online, so one day my curiosity got the best of me and, I decided to give it a watch. The Garfield Show is about who else, Garfield, and his constant antics that he and others managed to get themselves into. Each episode starts out pretty normal, with something happening to hint towards the main plot, like for example in episode 30 where John straight up just says this.
Boy, it's a beautiful night. A clear sky and all those stars. It's the kind of night that makes you wonder if there are people out there. People on other worlds or from other times visiting us.
Okay, so whoever wrote for this show was not great at the art of subtlety, but for a show about Garfield, I probably shouldn't expect much better than this. I know that's about as lazy of an argument as it's made for children, but honestly, anything Garfield related that I found funny or even remotely interesting was for completely unintended reasons. I mean, most of the enjoyment I get out of occasionally delving into the franchise is from viewing gimmick accounts on Twitter and reading Garfield cart reviews, so I think that should tell you something about me. I don't know, man, I just don't get why Garfield ever got as popular as he did, because from what I've seen, there is very little entertaining media representing him. That's not to say the Garfield Show doesn't try with its humor, because boy does it try, but not very hard. 1 out of every maybe 10 jokes manages to get a slight chuckle out of me, and I know that humor is subjective, but come on, you're not even going to try and tell me that this is funny.
You're supposed to stay on your diet. If you eat those lasagnas...
All right. I don't need to hear the cheap threat. I know it'll be cheap and I know it's a threat.
I wasn't really expecting this to be a laugh-out-loud comedy whenever I went into it, but that doesn't make it any less dull. I'm really struggling to find the right word for this, because it's not painfully bad humor, it's just middle of the road and kind of awkward sometimes. The rest of what there is to talk about with the show's writing isn't anything noteworthy, though apparently Jim Davis and Mark Benavier co-wrote the show. Mark is known for such classics as Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, Richie Rich, and Yogi Bear's All-Star Comedy Christmas Caper. Jeez Louise, that is a mouthful, among others. Meanwhile, Jim Davis is most well known for being the guy who created Garfield. Yeah. Now forgive me if I sound completely ignorant and stupid here, but I think that tells me enough about why I don't think the writing of this show is anything you have to watch it for. Maybe it's just that I didn't grow up with shows like Scooby-Doo, I don't know, but I honestly never saw the appeal in the original Scooby-Doo series. Like, the concept itself is fine, but in execution I always found myself bored to death watching it. Oh yeah, anyway, back to Garfield. As for the characters, they're pretty one-note. Garfield is a lazy, sarcastic cat that loves lasagna, and that's somewhat diverse. How about Odie? Dog. The characters are fine, I guess. Most of them feel way too similar to one another, though. Apart from Garfield and Odie, there aren't many defining personalities or character traits you can point out about any of them. John tends to be forgetful, pizza man guy, sorry I forgot his name, he makes pizza. Nermal is the generic annoying character that no one likes, and that's all I got. Even the occasional antagonist characters that are thrown into the mix don't really change anything. I mean, we have this guy who shows up in an episode where he takes all of Papa Louie, wrong character, Pizza Man guy's customers, but he kinda just does nothing. Like, seriously, the whole episode centers around him wanting to overshadow Papa Murphy's pizzeria so he can buy it out and expand his business, but he never does anything to show himself as any ounce of threatening. There's even a part where both him and Mr. Domino's Pizza himself show how they make their pizza to each other, so the big business guy could have easily stolen his recipe, leaving Garfield and John to help Hungry Howie to find new methods of advertisement to compete with him. That would have been a bit more interesting, if a bit cliche. I might just be looking too deep into this, but I feel like they could have done more with the plots and characters if they really tried. And before we get to anything else, can we just talk about the animation for a second? Like, this show has to have some of the most bizarre moments of animation errors I've ever seen. There's moments like in the episode From the Oven where Garfield clings on to the side of this building while a giant cake monster chases him down, but this monster is way too big to be able to hold on, and I've also noticed that on a few occasions the lip syncing is off by a second or two, but I get the feeling this is all likely because the animation team either didn't care or was just under crunch time. I get the feeling it's more likely there was just some crunch time because any animator would probably care about keeping their job. Apart from the errors though, I like the style the show goes for with its simple, cartoony textures and environments. Though the characters don't always look the best, it just certainly sticks out because of this. Mainly the human characters look weird, but the main cast looks alright. It fits Garfield is what I'm getting at. But to answer the question I know you're all asking, is the Garfield Show actually worth watching? Honestly, you probably know what my answer is gonna be. I would say to watch it only if you're really bored, as it does have some entertainment value to it, but don't expect the writing to be anything better than subpar. Overall, a solid meh out of 10 show for me, kind of what I was expecting from a show about Garfield, but I'll admit I wasn't quite expecting to see episodes where cake monsters are accidentally made or Garfield going to different dimensions. That's honestly where I got most of the value out of this show, because you never really know what to expect going into an episode, and in that regard I suppose it is a fairly unique show, and with some better writing I think it could have even been a decent series overall. Like, the episode From the Oven is such a confusing episode, but that's why it's one of my favorites. Odie is having his birthday, so John attempts to make a cake for him by following a local cooking show on TV, but uh-oh, John drops his bag of sugar on a TV remote, accidentally switching channels to a horror movie, which gives him the ingredients to make a monster, and so, not questioning the ingredients at all, he inadvertently makes a giant Frankenstein cake thing. Yeah, that makes sense. I also really like the part where neither John nor Garfield question the fact that this cake recipe calls for chocolate, and not only that, but Garfield puts all of the chocolate in their house into the bowl, and if you don't know, chocolate is not particularly good for dogs. Maybe this was an elaborate scheme to finally be rid of Odie, that stupid mutt. Honestly, considering how stupid Odie is, you wouldn't even have to try hard to do that. Though it does make me question why this show had to focus around Garfield of all characters, because comparing this to the older comics and TV shows is kind of bizarre. Like, Garfield always had this dry humor to it, and the old Garfield shows were mainly slices of life, but this is more of a proper Saturday morning cartoon. I guess I can see why they went in this direction with the show though, since its target audience is children, and to be completely honest, if the show's plots weren't so out there for a Garfield TV show, there's no chance I'd be talking about it today. But as it stands, the Garfield Show is mostly entertaining for the same reasons as the rest of his comics, TV shows, and video games: ironic meme value. So all's well that ends well, I suppose, though apparently the Garfield Show never technically ended, it just went on a hiatus before presumably being cancelled, as a Nickelodeon Garfield show was rumored to be happening after Viacom bought the rights to the character. I'm just gonna hope this spells the end for Garfield's presence in TV and movies though, because honestly, who on planet Earth still likes Garfield unironically? Like, if I had to guess, it was probably just older people. This is the part where I mentioned that I had the idea to make this video in 2020, and I finished the script a few months ago because something very ironic happened. Another Garfield movie was announced with Chris Pratt, the man himself, voicing Garfield. Hooray! I love Chris Pratt so much. Why don't we just get him to voice Mario? Oh wait, he already does. Well, I have no idea what else to say about this show. It's just a weird mark on Garfield's history. If you want to check out the show for yourself, you have literally no reason not to, because just about the entire series has been uploaded onto its official YouTube channel, so go watch some funny lasagna-loving cat antics or something. I don't know, do what you want. That said, thank you so much for watching, and let me know what you think about Garfield in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, or dislike it if you hated it. Have a wonderful day, and goodbye. Funny orange cat.